Welcome, everyone. I hope you are enjoying the conference so far. I don't know if I need a mic, actually. Yeah, OK. Before we kickstart the session, can I have a quick show of hands of how many people attended the keynote today? Oh, wow. OK, that's the whole room. That's very good. You put your hands down very quickly. How many of you are data engineers in the room? OK. Software engineers who are dealing with data warehouses or databases or data lakes? Quite a few. And do you also, my voice is a bit, sorry. Sorry about that. I guess now it's going to be all right. So do we have business analysts in the room who needs to look at dashboards or reports and that kind? OK, you have. So I hope the session is enjoyable to all of you. We are going to see how Kneat, an AWS customer, is modernizing their analytics solutions. My name is Aswathy Prasad. I am a solutions architect at AWS. And today we have Sean Daffy, the director of SaaS engineering at Kneat Solutions, and Gary Fegan, data architect at Kneat. Here's the agenda for today. So we'll start with an overview of modern data architecture on AWS, how the end-to-end data journey looks like. Then we will listen to Kneat's story on how they are moving towards a modern and next-gen analytics solution. Customers want you to understand them, listen to them, and proactively solve their problems. Given that it's a medieval city, I hope most of you drove here. So let's say you are driving through the motorway and the GPS reroutes you because there was a roadwork that you were unaware of. Or the car that you're driving is about to break down. You would want to know about it proactively. So companies or providers can proactively solve challenges of their customers only if they understand them. And companies understand their customers through data. So here is a functional view of a modern data architecture. On the left-hand side, you see data sources. And we have a variety of data sources, right? So we have databases. We have on-prem systems. We have third-party data coming in from your external, like CRM systems. And then you have data generated by your own customer by using your application. All of that data might need to go, or maybe like some part of it would need to land up in a data lake. Some part of it might need to go into an analytics solution. Some part of it will end up in databases, relational as well as non-relational databases. You might need to bring in machine learning models to make sense out of the data, to add more value-added solutions to your customers. You might also have business intelligence solutions built on top of that data. So this value-added data is then going to end up in the hands of more customers, more applications, more devices, which in turn is going to generate more data and more diverse data as well. So if you see in that diagram, there are arrows in between those systems, right? This is something that we are seeing that our customers would like to move data seamlessly between different systems. AWS has the broadest set of services to make that happen. We are not going to touch all of those services at all. Later on, you will see in the Kneat's presentation how they started with a few set of services which they were familiar with, and once they started getting it out there, learning from the feedback, they started expanding on those set of services as well. In a couple of minutes, you'll hear from Kneat about that. Now, what this framework means is that there is no one-size-fits-all solution. You start with something, and then as your workload becomes more complex, your use case becomes more complex, you will add more pieces into that Lego piece. OK, now let's have a look at how an end-to-end data journey looks like. You will ingest data from different sources. That might be real-time ingestion or batch ingestion. You will store them in our different storage systems. Then you will catalog or transform the data. This is where your ETL job comes into play. You may need to clean the data, duplicate the data, deduplicate the data, change the formats of it, and then you need to catalog it somewhere for inference for downstream systems. Then comes the analysis and visualization part. Once customers become comfortable in that analysis and visualization journey, then what we see is that they move on to machine learning or AI services workload. A fairly, not recent, but one of the more predominant use cases that we are seeing now is also about data sharing. So end customers would want to have companies provide data in a secure way as a data product. So sharing of data is also becoming a thing. Now let's see how a typical architecture looks like in that data lifecycle. I hope I am not showing you anything really, really new here, okay? I hope that you can guess the services that are gonna come up in the slide. So you have ingesting data from on-prem systems or streams or databases and logs. Can you guess what's the service that's going to land up there? S3, I heard S3, yes. Storage cannot get cheaper than S3. Once you have data in S3, we have a service called AWS Glue, which is our flagship service for data transformation and cataloging. Once we have cataloged the data, we know the schema, we know what's the structure of data, then we make it available for our downstream analytics systems. Now, we are not showing all our analytics services here, but just a chosen few with respect to what Kneat is also going to use, right? Once analysis is done, then we have Amazon SageMaker. Now, you have heard a lot more capabilities that's going to come into SageMaker in the form of SageMaker Unified Studio and so on. But good old SageMaker is still a very nice service for doing machine learning workloads. We are also seeing Amazon Bedrock, our generative AI enablement service, being added to the mix as more and more customers are getting onto that train of generative AI. Amazon QuickSight. This is our BI tool, and you heard a lot about it already. So this is a typical architecture. Now, I say typical. This does not mean that every customer would be using the same architecture, but we are seeing flavor of this being used by almost all our customers when it comes to analytical workloads. And you will see a flavor of this in Kneat's architecture as well. OK, I'm going to quickly go through the services that Kneat is using, just so that you get a feeling of this. But I'm not going to go into detail because I don't think that's required for this session. You guys have already heard a lot about these services in the keynote and the sessions before. Glue is our anchor data integration service. There are different features in Glue. One of the features is that Glue crawlers can look at your data sources, infer the schema, catalog it, make it available for downstream systems. And depending on your user persona, we have Glue scripts for your developers. If you're more familiar with an Excel kind of ETL, then we have Data Wrangler. There are an empty number of features present in Glue to do all your ETL jobs. Or Redshift, Amazon Redshift. The beauty of Redshift is in the scale of data that it can handle. It can handle exabyte scale of queries on petabyte scale of data. This is a purpose-built analytics platform. And why I say that is because the architecture is based on MPP, massively parallel processing. So Redshift has multiple nodes, and each node will work on its own queries and its own workload before the leader nodes then collect all that information and give you a single result. Amazon QuickSight is our BI tool. You heard a lot about QuickSight already. I just want to mention that with our native integration with the rest of the AWS services and natural language processing capabilities added onto Q, QuickSight is really what's the word for it? Democratizing BI for everyone. So now let's hear from Sean and Gary how they are evolving their existing reporting system into a next-gen analytics solution. Welcome on stage, Sean.
Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Sean Daffy. I'm Director of SaaS Engineering at Kneat Solutions. So over the next probably 25 minutes or so, myself and Gary will take you through a bit of our next-gen analytics journey. Before we do that, we're going to tell you a little bit about Kneat Solutions, what we do, what our product is, chat about our wider journey that we've been on that leads us to the next-gen analytics piece, and then talk about some of the business drivers that are encouraging us down this path. Gary's going to talk about our architecture. We'll chat about some of our key learnings so far, and then a little bit about what we're doing next, what we're excited about, what we're looking at the conference as well. So firstly, a little bit of audience participation, and this will be the only piece of audience participation, but who here has heard of Kneat Solutions before today? A few hands, including our product manager over there, who's here to make sure I don't say anything I shouldn't say. A few, but not too many. And I guess when AWS approached us with the opportunity to present, that was one of the key reasons we're very keen to do this. So as well as talking about our journey, it's a great opportunity for us to talk a little bit about who we are, what we do as a company. So firstly, I'll chat a little bit about that. So about Kneat Solutions. So Kneat Solutions, we deliver a B2B SaaS solution to customers primarily in the life sciences and regulated spaces. So it allows customers to perform validation and qualification activities. I'll talk a little bit more about the solution in the next slide, but a little bit about the company first. So Kneat has been in operation for over 15 years. I think the first lines of code are about 20 years old. But really it's in the last 5 years or so that we've seen significant growth. As a company, we employ about 300 people worldwide. 250 of those people are located in Ireland, and over 150 of those people work in our engineering function. Again, we're Limerick-based. Our office is in Limerick. We've people around Ireland, but we all come together in Limerick. As I mentioned, we're a B2B SaaS solution. We have about we've over 65,000 users worldwide, from New Zealand through to the West Coast of America. And those customers generally operate 24/7, 365. So there's always something happening in the system. We count 8 of the world's top 10 life science customers as our customers, and we take good care of them. You can try and guess who the other 2 are. Some we're not allowed to mention. But overall, we've quite a broad customer base, and we're targeting that life sciences industry. Our mission statement: helping life sciences to develop, manufacture, and deliver therapies to their patients to the highest safety standard. So we want to help those companies help their customers. Now, talking a little bit about Kneat GX, which is that SaaS solution that we do deliver to our customers. It's an end-to-end digital validation solution. So it allows our customers to validate and qualify activities. So these customers would operate primarily in highly regulated environments. If they're going to deploy, for example, a new piece of software, they have to make sure that piece of software operates as it should. It's their responsibility. They've got to store that evidence, and they've got to have it in an audit-ready manner. So Kneat GX, as an example, examples are the easiest way to explain this. So if I'm a customer, I'm getting that new piece of software. In Kneat GX, I can define the requirements for the software. I can specify what it should do. I can write the tests then to verify those requirements. I can execute those tests. I can send them for approval, because everything has to be approved. And then I can retain that evidence. So if I get audited in the future by a government body, by my customers, even internal audit, you have all the data there. It's not just software, we can also do equipment. So again, if I am a company and I'm bringing on board a new production line, for example, with new pieces of machinery, I can define the requirements for the machinery, I can define the ranges, and then I can use Kneat GX to qualify that and make sure it operates as it should. Key thing about Kneat GX is we retain the data in an audit-ready format. So again, as a customer, if I get audited, I don't have to go looking for paper documents. It's all there, we have it. Data integrity is incredibly important to us. So then a little bit about our wider journey. So although we're going to focus on the next-gen analytics solution in a little bit, Kneat has been on a wider journey, and this forms part of it. So when we started out about 15 years ago, we started out as an on-premise solution. So customers would provide the infrastructure to us, we would install the software on the solution, We would customize parts of the solution for the customers, particularly in the reporting side. If they had bespoke reporting requirements, we would work with them to satisfy those requirements. Anyone who's been in that place knows it's quite a manual, quite a labor-intensive kind of way of doing things, but it's a good way to get up and running, particularly when you're working with customers in the life science industry. Over the course of probably the last 5 years or so, we've transitioned to a SaaS hosted model. So effectively, we've brought all those on-premise customers on a journey with us to SaaS. It's still single tenant, or it was still single tenant, except we were hosting it for the customer up on AWS. And the key driver behind that was we were taking control of all the various aspects of the infrastructure and the architecture, et cetera. Because when you're developing a solution for on-premise, you're very constrained on what you can do. When it's SaaS, when you're running it on behalf of the customer, you can start to look at third-party services rather than building everything yourself, particularly AWS third-party services. And that's a key thing we wanted to kind of start to use to deliver new functionality to our customers. We also brought the customer on a bit of a journey of standardizing, particularly in the report space. So those bespoke reports, we kind of phased them out. We brought them more towards the standard set of reports, and we gave them some configuration abilities, but in general, largely standardized. Where we are now. So we are now what we consider cloud-native SaaS solution. So we've fully standardized the application. Everything runs in containers. We run tens to 20s of thousands of containers in production. Everything runs on EKS. We can do all the fancy patching, upgrades, uptime maintenance, self-healing, all that wonderful stuff. We can also scale much better for our customers. So what we see with a lot of customers is when they come to Kneat, they start off small and then they scale. They scale rapidly. And we need the ability to scale with those customers while also being cost efficient for the smaller customers. We also have kind of evolved our use of AWS services. We're using lots and lots of AWS services. We're shifting more towards pooled services in places. So we keep the core parts of the application segregated, kind of in line with that single tenant model. But where we're looking at new pieces, and in particular when we talk about next-gen analytics, we're starting to shift more towards pooled models, again, to help with that scaling challenge. So if you've got a big batch operation, it makes more sense for us to share the resources that do that. So shifting focus a little bit towards the next-gen solution, but before we get there, it's important to talk about the type of data we have and the type of data that we handle on behalf of our customers. At its most simple, Kneat GX is a system that allows you to define a process or a set of tests and execute those tests. So again, if you're qualifying a new factory, for example, you can define all the requirements for the factory, for the production line, you can go all the way down, and then you can define what you need to qualify, execute it, you can track your status. So the types of data that we see customers generating in Kneat GX. So a lot of status and project kind of progress data. So a lot of data about where are my documents, what state are they in, how far am I progressing, how am I progressing towards my completion. A lot of time-based data. So again, how long is it taking to execute certain steps in the process? Where are my bottlenecks? Where should I target my continuous improvement initiatives, et cetera? A lot of periodic review data. So for most of our customers, you don't just qualify once. You qualify again and again. You're trying to identify drift, et cetera. So for a lot of our customers, they would qualify on set intervals, or even now we're trying to bring in the concept of data feeding in from third-party machines and identifying drift and helping to focus our customers towards what they need to qualify. And then lastly, a lot of compliance data. Fundamentally, the core part of Kneat GX is our audit trail. So every action you perform in Kneat GX as a user is audited, is tracked, is recorded. That's a huge amount of data for us. So it allows us to do more simple things like user access reports, user security reports. Our customers are required to verify that only people who should have access, and to do that on a recurring basis. That's an easy report to generate, an easy insight to give them. But there's a lot more information in that compliance data that we're only starting to explore now. So then chatting a little bit about the business drivers. Why did we go down this path with our next-gen analytics solution? And I think a lot of these will be familiar to a lot of you people who are on a similar journey. So firstly, we want to enable our customers to get deeper insight into their data. Customers are putting more and more data into Kneat, they're putting more processes, they're putting more tests in there. The data we have is growing, the different types of data is growing. We want to be able to give our customers better insights into that data. We want to modernize look and feel. This was a huge one for us, and Gary is going to show you a little bit of our legacy reporting solution. It's very tabular. It's not very pretty. We wanted those nice visualizations that you get. We wanted to be able to give our customers the best experience in the application, and we didn't want to have to build it ourselves. We wanted to leverage a service that already does it. Another key piece here is we want to encourage our customers to use Kneat on mobile devices. We want them to walk up to a piece of machinery, do your tests, get into your data, and then have that same experience with your visualizations. So to have those nice, pretty visualizations updating and looking great for you on a device. Supporting new data concepts. Again, this is something Gary will expand on a bit, but we're adding new data concepts to the project. We're trying to change how we think about the data in the application. So again, we need something that will support that. And then addressing challenge of scaling. So again, we have more operational challenges. A single tenant data warehouse, one for every customer, challenging to scale up, but also challenging to run a lot of those. So in summary, I guess our existing reporting solution, and we very much call it a reporting solution, has served us well. It's been key to a lot of the growth we've had in the business over the last couple of years. But we want to develop a more modern data and analytics solution, something that kind of aligns with our future plans for scaling the solution. So I'm going to hand over to Gary now, who's going to chat a little bit about the architecture, and then we'll come back with some of our learnings.
Hello, everybody. You're all very welcome. My name is Gary Fegan, and I'm a data architect in Kneat. I'm very excited to be with you here today. It's my role to look at all things data-related within Kneat as a company, and especially the tools and technologies that we use. So many of you will already be on a similar journey to ours, and some of you may not yet have started. But regardless of what stage you're at, we want you to be able to take away some of our lessons that we've learned, and it'll be useful for each of you here today. Before that, though, I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the technical aspects of our journey. When Kneat started offering reporting, Microsoft SQL Server and Microsoft's reporting software, SSRS, was the obvious choice. We're already using SQL Server in our front-end application, KneatGX, and as a technology, it was more than capable for the reporting needs at that time. At the top of the screen, you'll see a very simplified data flow diagram. So on the left-hand side, we have a SQL Server instance for our application. We use stored procedures to transform and move the data into the target, which is another SQL Server instance for the reporting, and it's used then for reports in SSRS. The bottom of the screen shows one of our most widely used legacy reports. It's called a requirements traceability matrix, and as anyone who's worked with SSRS will recognize it as very much a typical tabular format SSRS report. So why move away from this architecture? So Sean has mentioned some of the business drivers. I'm going to talk about some of the more technical details now. Kneat has seen a huge growth in the number of users over the last number of years, both within our existing customer base and with the onboarding of new customers. With new data, or with new users, has come an exponential growth in data. More users equals more data, equals more reports being run, equals more processing power required for those reports. Over the last 4 years, our SQL Server reporting database has doubled in size 4 times to keep up with demand. So what we have now is 16 times bigger than what we had back in 2020. Traditional databases store data in tables and columns, and it's a very rigid structure that needs to be known upfront when processing. Modern data applications, on the other hand, use semi-structured data types, which offer much more flexibility. An example of this is our new entity-based data model that we use within Kneat, which uses a JSON data type. And a next-gen analytics solution needs to be able to handle both traditional data types and efficiently process and store newer ones. So why did we pick Redshift and QuickSight? First reason is scalability. With provision clusters in Redshift, you can scale vertically by increasing the size of the cluster. You can scale horizontally by adding more nodes, and you can scale dynamically by using concurrency scaling. So this will add additional cluster capacity for times of increased usage with customers or with users and queries, and it will remove that additional capacity whenever it's no longer needed. With QuickSight, it's completely serverless and can easily and quickly scale up to tens of thousands of concurrent users at any time. Second reason is performance. So Redshift is a database specifically designed for reporting and for analytical queries. So features like massively parallel processing, columnar storage, data compression, and query optimization all lead to fast and efficient queries. With Redshift, we can utilize the compute power, or with QuickSight, we can utilize the compute power of Redshift by using direct query, or we can use Spice, which is QuickSight's fast, scalable, in-memory data store. Third reason is maintenance. With provision clusters, many of the useful maintenance tasks can be automated, such as run in vacuum, run in analyze, distribution and sort key management, security updates, patches, and query optimization. And with QuickSight, there are no servers to set up, configure, or maintain. So the fourth reason, which is a crucial feature for our customers, is the ability to access and interact with dashboards no matter where you are, anytime, anywhere. QuickSight provides that flexibility and convenience no matter where the customer might want to access their data. Fifth reason is some of the interactive capabilities that QuickSight has, such as filters, drill downs, drill ups, highlighting, and a large number of visualizations that are available within QuickSight, and also having the ability to combine visualizations within a single dashboard. And lastly, but certainly not least, our wonderful AWS account team. So we carry out a number of POCs on a number of different technologies, and the support that we received from the AWS team was fantastic and helped us at every opportunity. So moving on to the next slide, you'll see our current next-gen analytics architecture. You'll see a lot of similarities between this slide and the slide that Shruti presented earlier. So this provides a high-end or high-level end-to-end data flow. So the entire process is kicked off by EventBridge, which will trigger step functions, which is our orchestration tool. And step functions will then call a glue job, which will unload from the source system, so our GX application SQL Server database. Glue then loads the data as it is into Redshift, and a number of stored procedures will then move it through the different layers. So within Kneat, we've implemented a three-tier architecture, data architecture. Tier 1 is our acquisition layer, so the data is stored exactly as it is in source. So that's our raw layer. Tier 2 is our integration layer. That's where we can combine tables, we can store it in multiple views, and it's really where our core data model resides. Tier 3 is our presentation layer, and this is where the data is then made available for QuickSight. So in that layer, we can carry out aggregations, calculations, and make that data ready for reporting. It's worth noting that an instance of what I've described here is called for every single one of our customers. So we have many jobs all running in parallel, each processing a single customer's data. One very interesting feature that we've been able to implement is the dynamic creation of dashboards through the Kneat GX application. So this has been a very exciting feature for both us and our customers. In addition to a number of core dashboards that are created by our development teams, this dynamic dashboard functionality allows a user to create a custom dashboard automatically without any QuickSight development. On the left, you will see your Kneat GX application. So a user can list the data points that they want to report on. You can specify the names to be displayed, and you can choose the data types. Once the publish button is clicked, a C# action is triggered, and an event, a create dashboard event, is sent to a queue. An API call is then made to QuickSight, and by modifying the asset as a code definition, the new custom dashboard is created. On the right, you can see a dashboard created in this way with the custom columns and filters based exactly on what was selected in GX. I'm going to hand it back over to Sean now, who'll talk you through 4 of our key learnings and our plans for the future.
Thank you. Okay, so when AWS kind of approached us with the opportunity to present here today, kind of felt, well, you know, are we ready And then we kind of thought about it and we said, hey, there'll be lots of other people on similar journeys to us. So it's a good opportunity to tell you folks a little bit about what we've learned so far. We don't claim to be experts. We're learning every day. Some days are exciting, some days are a little bit frightening. It's a journey. It's a journey towards the perfect solution. One we'll probably never reach, or there'll be something new by the time we get there. But firstly, just to tell you a little bit about some of the learnings we've taken from it. So firstly, iterate quickly. It's a really important piece for us. So the solution we designed on a whiteboard about 12 months ago is very different to the solution we've implemented now, and we know it's going to be different again in 12 months' time. The key thing is get it out there. Get it out there, start getting your data flowing through it, start sharing your visualizations with people, start getting feedback. AWS services make it very easy to deploy, tear down, and redeploy again. We also automate everything with infrastructure as code. So all of our deployments, all of our infrastructure is automated with Terraform. We can deploy it, we can see how it works, ingest some data, tear it down, put up a new version. And we can do that in minutes. So again, it's that fast feedback. You're always making bets when you're coming up with a new architecture. You try to win, you don't always win. When you lose, it's important just to learn and iterate again. Redshift is similar to SQL Server. Similar, is doing a lot of lifting in there. So this is an important point for us. As Gary showed, like our internal skill set, our ops people, our developers, etc., they know SQL Server. Redshift is similar but different. But what it means for us is a lot of the concepts that our people are aware of, a lot of them carry over a little bit. And that allows us to get up and going. It allows us to kind of design that first functional flow end to end, get the data moving, and then allows us to start to learn. A key thing we do learn is Redshift is different though. Particularly different as you start to put more and more data into it, as you start to run more jobs in parallel, you start to see different challenges. So it's really important to kind of bring your people on the journey as well. So upskill your people, bring them on training, and particularly engage with AWS because there's a huge amount of expertise there. And as Gary touched on, we've done lots and lots of calls. I think we've kind of burnt the ear off people in AWS, looking at what we're thinking of doing, asking for feedback, getting help. Something we're going to keep doing, Mark. Next up, pooled modeled implications. Implications is a big word in the middle of this. So for us, coming from a single tenant, traditionally single tenant architecture, shifting to a pooled model was a big thing for us. We wanted to do it from a total cost of ownership perspective. We want to make it cheaper to run, easier to scale, remove a lot of those operational overheads. But it does come with challenges. So things like row-level security. Row-level security is a big thing to understand. It's obviously critical. You got to get it right. You don't want to get it wrong. But it does have a lot of implications, and it does create compatibility issues. But again, you need to just learn about it. Locking as well, is a big thing, particularly as we're running more and more jobs in parallel. We're learning a lot more about how Redshift locks, and we're working with AWS to understand it better and adjust our code and adjust how we do things. And lastly is quite a common thing for everyone with a multi-tenancy style application, the noisy neighbor challenge. So you can be loading one customer's data, you can hit something unexpected that can spike the CPU, and suddenly you're impacting on everyone else. That's not new, just something that is a bit more pronounced with the pooled model, something you need to design for. And lastly is cost management. I saw FinOps on a slide over there, and I was like, I wish I'd used that word instead, but it's too late now. But cost monitoring, cost management is a big thing. So when you embark on a new journey, new services, new solutions, it's quite easy to spend money. And you spend a lot of time figuring out what's the optimum solution. You're figuring it out from a performance perspective, from a cost perspective, everything else. So cost monitoring, getting that monitoring in place, getting visibility, knowing when you're spiking something, knowing when you're spiking your expenditure, is a huge thing. Don't change settings on a Friday evening and then come in on Monday morning and get shocked by the spike in the Cost Explorer graph. Make sure you have something in place to alert you. And the other key thing, again, it's kind of a recurring message for us, is keep engaging with AWS. Talk to the people in AWS. If you're not sure what the setting does, what the implications are, chat to the people in AWS, and they will talk you through it, and they'll guide you on it, and hopefully you'll avoid too many frightening bills. So then our last slide, no, I've gone backwards. I go forwards. There we go, future focus. So what are we looking at next? So although both Gary and myself are presenting here today, and we've been a little bit distracted for the morning with that, we're planning to go to lots of other sessions and see what else we can learn today, what else we can learn about the new tools and technologies. But there are a couple of key things we're excited about, we're looking at, we're talking to AWS about. So firstly, Queue for QuickSight is a thing we're really interested in. So as we touched on earlier, we have kind of steered our customers towards standardized QuickSight dashboards. It's important for scale that we have those standardized dashboards. But what that means is if someone wants a different visualization, they have to come to us. They have to speak to us, we have to develop it, we have to push it out there. We only give our customers reader access to the dashboards. But something like Queue for QuickSight there is very interesting for us. That ability to write a natural language query and generate your own visualizations, that's something we're very interested in, the potential to give to our customers, to let customers ask their own questions and generate their own visualizations. Next one is data sharing. So data sharing is something that, over the last couple of years, it kind of comes in waves. You see a lot of demand for it, then it calms down, but it's really coming again as a lot of customers are building their own internal AI models. They want to get access to all their data. Even if you as a SaaS provider have it, they want to access that underlying data. So that's a big thing for us. How do we grant that access in a secure and efficient manner? And then lastly, AI and machine learning. And we nearly got to the end without mentioning AI too much. But again, like everyone, we're very interested in the potential that's here. Lots of opportunities. We see the kind of aggregation of customers' data in our Redshift environments as creating a source that down the road we can use to deliver new capabilities to those customers. So to allow customers to ask questions about their data using AI, or to generate their own tests using their own data that we're storing in Redshift. So lots of interesting opportunities there. I won't say too much, or Rory might cut my mic from a product perspective. But again, it's an interesting area for us around what can we do next. So that is it from us. I'm going to hand back to Aswathy and let her wrap up.
Well, too fast, but no, I'll take it. So now that you've heard from Kneat, I hope you have understood that the journey to a modern data analytics solution, it doesn't start with all the services out there. It starts small, and then you will scale fast. You will get that quick feedback from your customers, and then once you're comfortable, you will start exploring more workloads as such. So AWS has the broadest set of services and the deepest features inside those services to help you with their journey. So we provide you tools for unified analytics, machine learning integration, all with security and access control in place. Please work with your AWS account team if you want to know more about our services. Now, I know that we have thrown lots of information at you. If you have any questions, please do come and talk to us. We'll be around. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the session today. No. Once more, very sorry to interrupt. I really like the claps. We are a very data-driven company, so if you could just take out your phones and fill out the survey for us. Let us know what you liked, what you would like to know more. We'd be very happy to listen to your feedback. Now enjoy your lunch. Thank you.